But of course, plenty going on in the world of Indiana football, like there is every week. We'll start here, Brad. About 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we threw around a couple of different names for the naming rights of the field. Merchants Bank was not one of them, but shout out to those guys for dropping the bag. 50 million over 20 years was the contract, and it's Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium. The boys are going to be taking the ball to the bank.
20-year deal.
Were you surprised?
Wow. I didn't know about that number. Yeah, I thought it was going to be like 10 or something. 20 is a lot. And I feel like, being early, obviously we're setting the market, but maybe with the deal that long, just thinking like market could change. We'll see. We're going to be locked in that deal for a while. So I'm sure there's other ways to get revenue in, but yeah, I'm great. I'm happy about it.
Penn State's deal was very similar. It was over 15 years, I believe. So they got a little bit more. But it was pretty comparable to the rest of the market. I do understand the hesitation in looking at a deal over 20 years because the market obviously is going to shift. But there are other things around the stadium they could name. There are other renovations that are going to happen. There's going to be a whole suite area and press box, and they're talking about ripping up the entire stadium and whether or not they're going to do that in one go or do that in multiple different smaller projects. That's kind of the conversation right now. So no shortage of area to make money. I think this did come out of left field, but at the same time, like the report was from Scott Dolson himself, was that he ran out onto Kirkwood and started to do a dance in front of a bunch of people, and it didn't even matter who was around. Yeah, so he was thrilled about it.
Fun.
And
I feel like that's a good sign.
No, that is definitely when the guy brokering the deal is pumped about it. Yeah, I'm gonna be pumped about it too. And the other thing that came out of that was nobody's shying away from the goal. The goal is to eventually, if not this year, bring a national championship to Indiana, and that's something that Pam Whitten literally said at her media appearance announcing Merchants Bank Field as the sponsor. So everybody's head is pointing in the right direction, and it's funny as Indiana football fans, and we'll get into a lot of the BS that's been thrown around this week and for the last couple of weeks, to hear that as the goal of the university when we were in school, it was survive and maybe get to a bowl game, is like, this is a completely different world. And Fat Boy's right. We are alive. Let's fucking go. Game week.
You also said it came out of left field. Like we didn't have a whole bit where we try to hypothesize, throw around hypotheticals about what the field could be.
I said Merchants Bank Field being the sponsor came out of left field. Naming the field did not. It was something that we have been speculating about for 2 months.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're clear there.
The fellas are racking up preseason awards. Mendoza has been on a bunch of them. I think Bray Lynch was on one of them. The one that stood out to me today, though, was Byron Baldwin Jr., and I'll loop in this with it, too. Today is August 26th, and I'll stack correct myself from last week. Last week, I saw a Michael Nizolik, and I got corrected on that, too, Nizolik, tweet talking about an addition to Lewis Moore's trial that's happening tomorrow. I interpreted that to be that was happening last week. It wasn't. So all of this stuff is happening tomorrow. So whether or not Lewis Moore is going to be ruled eligible for the 2025 season, we'll have a definitive answer tomorrow. Signetti was asked about it during his press conference this week, whether or not they've had a plan in place for it. And he said, obviously, they have a plan in place for it. So, but he did
Byron Baldwin, I'm pretty sure.
And it is Byron Baldwin. And he was named to the Sean Alexander, freshman to watch list, which is very, very exciting.
Ooh. Remember when Sean Alexander was the cover of Madden and then kind of fell off the face of the earth? Yeah.
I think that was 07, right?
Yeah. He won MVP, and then they went to the Super Bowl, lost to the Steelers, and then I feel
Didn't he have 25 touchdowns or something crazy like that? I don't know. It's fantasy football season. Sean Alexander's hitting home. I think that was the first or second year I started playing.
Really? That's early. I didn't start playing until much later. Much later.
I started playing fantasy football probably second or third grade.
Yeah. Now I would give my uncles advice, back in that day. They would ask me, they'd refer to me. I was almost a fantasy consultant. Didn't really know what the game was, but they asked me who I liked, and I would think they would take it to heart,
I'm a Dwayne Bowe truther, Brad. That's how far back I go.
Yeah. He was big time back then. Everyone loved Dwayne Bowe. He was like a He's a top 10 guy at one point. People
Somewhere
don't even
over
know
the
who he is
rainbow,
these days.
Brad.
It's crazy.
The big news, the big non-Indiana news last week was the SEC moving to 9 conference games officially, and also the kicker being they added the +1 rule, meaning you have to schedule 1 Power 4. Obviously, Indiana Twitter ran rampant with that because after Signetti's comments and Signetti grave dance all over the SEC for their scheduling, they come out and they officially changed the format of their league, something they've been holding on to for a really long time. And honestly, the main reason why the Big Ten took away their +1 rule is because the SEC wasn't playing 9 conference games, and now you have a little bit more balancing back in college football. So, what was your initial takeaway when you saw going back to 9 conference games?
Initial
Or
takeaway
going
was
to 9 conference games. Sorry.
Initial takeaway was Signetti absolutely bullying the SEC into getting this done. That was as clear as day. It was funny how kind of ESPN covered it, where they were trying to like throw it back at Indiana, like, oh, like look at us now. Like Indiana can't do their cupcake schedule anymore. It's no longer SEC standard, and which is true. And I think alludes, and everyone was still responding like Signetti totally won and all that. So I think the national fan base had our back here, which was awesome to see. And then moving forward, obviously what this means for Indiana is that they're probably going to adopt a very similar type of structure in the Big Ten moving forward. So, those 3 cupcakes at the beginning of the year is probably not going to last very long. And it'll be interesting to see who they replace for next year. Obviously, the easy probably move would be getting Kentucky on the schedule next year. I think that would be awesome if we can get that done and get that rivalry going. And then I've said this before, how I would want it is that we're basically just playing Kentucky or Notre Dame on a given year. And I think that would be great for just like the branding of Indiana football and what it's all about and kind of those key rivalries that I think people want to see from IU, just trying to stay as traditionalist as possible in a very non-traditional college football landscape we find ourselves in.
Yeah, I think there's a reason that the Indiana schedule graphics cut off in 2029, and it like the people who are going to miss out the most on the eventual schedule changes are the people who are grifting off of Indiana's schedule in the first place. So ultimately, it'll be good for college football, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But it is kind of interesting to your point that you saw a lot of people try and throw this back into Indiana's face when the major change and the meeting to have that change happened after Signetti made the comments about the league. And so saying one didn't directly affect the other without definitive proof, you know what I mean? It's like there is no way to possibly say
the
that
absence of evidence isn't the evidence of absence, as they say.
Exactly. That is tried and true PR win for Indiana. And also something that we predicted going into the offseason and going into the summer was that the intensity of the grifting was going to keep Indiana's name relevant from the time they lost in the college football playoff through literally we're in game week right now. And it feels like every single week there was a story or two about what Indiana's schedule looked like. Could they do this and whatnot, this and that and the other. We've been talking about Indiana football for 8 months. They haven't taken a snap.
Longer than that. We've been doing this pod for over a year now.
No, but I'm saying like they haven't taken a snap since December 24th or December 23rd or whenever that game, or the 12th or whatever. When was that game? I don't even remember when that game was. Early December,
16th.
So
I think
the fact that we've been able to stay this relevant as a football program, it again speaks volumes to where we've come from, and the fact that Indiana belongs in this conversation. Hats off to Signetti because he's the reason why we're here. Sig's inside, baby. Let's go. Let's go, Blake.
There we go, B-Phil. Welcome.
Brad, did you see the top 5 highest paid quarterbacks in the Big Ten list?
Say that again. Sorry.
Did you see the top 5 quarterbacks in the Big Ten list?
In the Big Ten list from who?
From Big Ten Huddle.
See a lot of lists. And no, I don't. I'm surprised. I don't remember it off the top of my head. They've been dropping a lot of lists this year, so it's been really hard to keep up and figure out which list is list. I feel like, the offseason is just full of lists, and you see a bunch of them, and you kind of digest them. You don't know who's who, and you kind of just get, you're kind of drowning in lists. And I'm so glad there's actual football this year because, football is more than just a list,
Now, Fat Boy says Sid got to steal. Mendoza is better than 4 of them at least. No, I'll do you one up. I think he's better than all 5. And the list was Dylan Raiola and Drew Aller making $3+ million. Underwood's making 3, Sainz making 1.5, and Malava's making 1.2, and Altmaier's making 1. So
the NIL list. You didn't make that clear. Those NIL lists. Yeah, no, it's crazy. It feels like we're getting a bargain.
I said the highest paid quarterbacks. How could that? How I couldn't have made it more clear.
I'm sorry. I'm off. I'm off today, which is bad. Not good. Not good. Not good.
The guy wears red for game week, and he can't get.
Yeah, well, it feels like Indiana to the point of the list. Anyways, we can move past.
Yeah,
my distractions.
The point being, Fernando Mendoza, if not based on play and merit alone, should be somewhere on this list, and he's not. And so the fact that is the case, if this is fact, is insane, and Cignetti deserves a raise.
Yeah, no, I think the funniest thing I saw was someone just pointing out the fact that Raiola made $3 million to lose 56-7 last year to Indiana. So I think that was just the funniest thing I saw about it. But yeah, I mean, that's just the reality of football being played. It's hard for me to imagine he's not making more than that. I feel like maybe they don't have the accurate number. Like all these numbers are kind of hearsay. I don't know how official they are. There's a chance Mendoza's making a bunch more than what they actually think he's making. So, yeah, it's interesting to see, but I think we're getting an absolute bargain just based on the numbers that we saw on that graphic.
I agree. We got a Tyreek Tucker mic'd up video this week. We also got, which was awesome.
Such a nose tackle, that guy.
He's a dog, man. He's an absolute dog, and he's one of the reasons why it's like people say that one of the question marks on this Indiana team is the defensive tackle or the defensive line. It's like we must be watching 2 different position groups then, because I'm not seeing the same thing.
Yeah, no, we were hearing in spring that was actually one of the strengths of the team at that point. Like they were way ahead of schedule, so hopefully the rest of the team is able to catch up. If that's the case, and maybe that is one of the bigger question marks because we are replacing an NFL talent there. And as officially today, there's now 3 guys that are now in the NFL that we have to replace now. And it'll be interesting to kind of look forward. Did we find 3 more NFL guys kind of match the production talent that we have on this team as opposed to last year? I think is a big part of it, but kind of went on a tangent. But yeah, Tyreek Tucker, we're expecting huge strides from him this year. He still has the starting nose, and obviously he's going to be splitting carries with Ratcliffe and Wheeler and Landino, like we've been saying all off season. So, yeah. Did I say carries? It says snaps there.
Yeah, you alluded to a bunch of different things. One of them there was that there was another NFL Hoosier, and shout out to Miles Price, who made the Vikings roster, came out today. There was an awesome clip. I think I don't know which accounts are linked up where and which browsers, but of Miles Price answering why punt return is his favorite position, talking about just getting the ball in his hands and like having the chance to make a play. And it's just, you listen to that guy speak about football, and how do you not want him on your football team? So hopefully some of the other guys, the guys that were like last roster cuts, get Guma Snickers, please.
No, honestly, it's kind of what I need right now.
Hopefully those guys who are kind of last
blood
roster
sugar,
cuts
too heavy of a workout today,
are able to find homes and are able to make an impact because we know they're good football players. But shout out to Miles Price for battling his ass off, making a roster. We love to see that from the boy. Love to see it.
Yeah. Congrats to Miles. I mean, we always suspected that maybe either a Keyshawn Williams or a Miles Price could make it as an undrafted rookie. If not, one of them, not both, because we saw them as pretty like equal. I heard Key's probably gonna he's going to end up on a practice squad, and we'll probably see him on a roster at some point this year, just based on what injuries do. He made a very good impression with NFL front offices this preseason, and I think of any of the cuts that happen, he's probably the most likely to kind of stick around in the league for a little bit and hopefully contribute as another punt returner in the league.
Well, it's also intriguing for Miles Price because you look at how Minnesota develops receivers, how quickly they kind of, I don't want to say cycle through receivers, but their guys end up in and out of the lineup. I'm not ruling out that guy's going to play his way into like legit touches. Like you look at how infectious he is about football and how much he loves the game, and the guy's going to work hard and what he's like when he gets the ball in his hands. And so I'm just excited that kid's able to like put himself in a position to like be on an NFL roster. Like it's big time.
Yeah, dreams do come true. Hard work pays off. Congrats to
100%.
Miles. It's a very I think, we'd like to take credit of the Signetti NFL pipeline and try to use that as a recruiting tool, which will always be, obviously leveraged by the school moving forward. And just another example of Miles Price is probably a great story to use for recruits. But I think with that, I think people forget with all that kind of credit being taken by the schools, where making an NFL roster really comes down to that one person. And Miles Price putting in the work and, doing the things he needed to do this offseason to end up getting that roster spot and being able to, prepare and recover throughout camp and get that job is huge. And congratulations to Miles, because he deserves the individual credit there, because it is an individual accomplishment. It is not an
100%.
accomplishment of Curt Cignetti or Indiana or anyone, more so than it is Miles Price being the man.
Earn, not given. Not given. Salute to Price. Salute. What was I gonna say? We got a Wheeler and Mikowski pressers this week. Nothing that jumped out specifically about either one, but I would say, I would just say the maturity and the perspective both of them have about football, about their situation. Really, really impressive. Two impressive individuals. Two guys that boring is the wrong word, but it's the perfect word, and it's exactly what you want to hear. When it's just like, if you enjoy football talk and you enjoy press conferences, which like you guys know I do, I'll run through word for word what they say. I really enjoyed listening to those guys speak, but there was no like Signetti-esque quotes from either of them, which is why I didn't write any of those down. But the maturity and the perspective that those two specifically have about the game and what they're bringing to that room, I'm really excited for the impact they have. And we'll get into a little bit of where Mikowski and kind of what the offensive line is going to look like in a little bit. But it was interesting to hear him talk about playing right tackle and how foreign it was compared to being on the left side of the offensive line for his entire life.
Yeah, it's inverse movements for him, so it takes a little bit of adjustment. And we've said that's kind of where Benson comes in, because Benson has played all four positions at some point in his career, so which might be working against him in some capacity, not being able to be, jack of all trades, master of none type deal for a guy like Khalil Benson when it comes to O-line. But no, knowing the movement still at left tackle, it just takes repetition, and I'm sure he'll be able to pull it off. And are we going to talk a little bit O-line construction right now, just based on kind of the injuries we have, or are we going to say that for the game preview?
Hold it for the game preview. I want to there's a little bit of smoke. I just want to get through the smoke, and then we'll talk about the game.
Okay.
Class of 2026. I don't know if you're able to catch any of the stats, Brad, but they went crazy this weekend. Jaden Williams had like 17 tackles, which is absolutely absurd.
Okay.
Cash Herrera, 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, like 350 plus all-purpose yards. He went crazy. Laron Dews returned a punt. He went nuts. Jacob Savage scored twice, had like 7-8 tackles. I saw Cam McCaney get in on the action, smash somebody. And those are just the guys in highlights. I saw Kent Mondu had a sick game. Parker Elmore, oh my God, Parker Elmore made one of the sickest catches over some poor dude I've ever seen. He just went way up and mossed the kid. The kid had no business being on the field. So that was really exciting.
More dogs on the team.
If you're watching the production in the class of 2026 specifically, it's hard because these guys aren't going to impact the team until next year at the earliest. But to watch what a kid like that looks like at their quote unquote like full powers playing against their peers, and imagine what that can look like when they're playing against their peers and Curt Cignetti in Indiana's system. It gets really exciting when you look at the production of some of these guys. Now, obviously, it's high school. You can't get too caught up in that because the game changes drastically, but you want to look and see the guys who committed to your school playing well and dominating and doing the things that they're doing. And so shout out to those guys specifically who I saw, but also I'm sure the rest of the class was dominating as well because they just bring in dogs. That's what these guys do.
Yeah, competition level varies throughout the class, but for the most part, the class is made up of guys playing pretty high-level high school football. Cash Herrera is probably one of those exceptions. He's playing in San Diego and not, one of the smaller Catholic leagues over there. And but yeah, for him to still put up 6 touchdowns and 350 all-purpose yards, doesn't matter who you're playing. That's good stuff. That's something you want to see. And yeah, hopefully he keeps it going.
Where am I going next? I was laughing again today, Brad, about the idea of Kurt Signetti starting a podcast.
Oh yeah, because Matt Rule did it. Yeah, no, it's a funny thought.
The gift that keeps on
Kurt.
giving.
We got it from here.
That was very funny. For the first time, I don't know if it's ever, but it feels like ever, and definitely since I've been associated with the school, so 2016, but definitely before that, based on a lot of the reactions I was seeing on Twitter, you can now officially get a replica jersey from the team store, from the website, and that's a good thing. And I'm going to give Adidas props. You know I'm not an Adidas fan, very vocally against Adidas, but that's something people have been asking for a while. The fact that you can now go purchase a replica jersey of this team is a very good thing. So shout out to the school, shout out to the people involved in getting that done. And if you want, go ahead, go check that out. You can get any of the guys. It's
what are the
it's
different
a good
number
thing.
options? 13.
I think it's
4.
You can get all the numbers.
Get all the numbers.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Customize your own nameplate.
See,
so
you'll know I've made it when I have 1 through 99 in Indiana jerseys.
Over time. Yeah. Why not?
Accumulate. This one kind of flew under the radar a little bit, but I have my eye on the staff moves, and Indiana keeps adding all-stars to the staff. They went out and hired former Georgia player personnel analyst Sales Pinkney as the assistant director of player personnel. Go to a big-time school. You get somebody with rave reviews, bring him into the Indiana ecosystem. I absolutely love it. Shout out to Sales. Welcome aboard. The machine keeps on churning, Brad. You need another talented guy, go get him.
Guy. Yeah. Sure. I'll take him. Yeah. I'll give you a promotion. Yeah. I think you can do your job. I think you can do that job at a high level. Yeah, huge snag from
I was gonna say this probably should have been
staff that's already really good at evaluating. They just had another good evaluator, so it's it's just like you said, the train keeps on chugging along, stacking days, stacking weeks, stacking months, stacking years. But we're taking it week by week now. We're not stack. Well, I guess we're stacking, but we're slowing down.
We're stacking days.
We're slowing down the stacking, I guess.
Speaking of stacking, and I probably should address this at the top of the show, we passed 500 subs. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to us. We set a goal. We hit it. That's beast.
Shout out to
Love
you.
that. Shout out to the listeners. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for being along for this journey.
Mm-hmm.
Keep subscribing. Just because we set a goal and smashed it doesn't mean we're not setting a new goal. So we'll have to get together and figure it out. But we'll say
it's 1,000.
1,000 by the start of conference play. Were you feeling
1,000 by
the Oregon game?
1,000
maybe the chat can help us out.
1,000 by the national championship game.
1,000 by the national championship? No, it'll have to be before that.
If we,
How about well, this is a good place to loop this into. How about 1,000 before Brad and I descend on Bloomington, October 24th for the October 25th UCLA at Indiana game. My tickets are booked. Brad, our tickets are bought. Our place is booked. My flight is booked. Yeah, thank you for that, Brad.
I got you.
We are headed to Bloomington. I could not be more excited. I haven't been back to Bloomington since homecoming in 2021. Indiana got absolutely shellacked by Ohio State, and that was a completely different program. I literally don't have words to describe how it feels to say those are booked. And we're coming. I'm officially booked today.
Yeah, we'll talk, fat boy. We'll talk.
We will talk. I promise we will talk. I could not be more excited to get out there and just to experience Bloomington as a football school. Like I have chills. Like I'm so excited. I can't wait. Like I can't wait. I might cry if we keep talking about it. Like that's how excited I am.
I haven't been back since Cincinnati game. Micah McFadden ejection. That's the last time I've been back.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah. No, that's probably right.
October 25th. If you're not going to the UCLA game yet, I'll see you there. We are coming.
Six Inside will be descending upon Bloomington. October.
Indiana at the Voice of College Football will be descending upon Bloomington. And Indiana at the Voice of College Football has merch.
Synonymous. But yeah,
We
it's
have
what our
merch
official
now.
name is, but real ones know that we're Sigs Inside. All right. And we go under the guise of Indiana Voice of College Football. And we love the Voice of College Football Network. We're so happy to be here, do these cool live shows, eventually maybe do some more cool stuff as we continue to grow. But yeah.
Oh, this is a
Yeah,
good
super
point. This
pumped
is
for
a
the
good,
UCLA game.
yeah, we
Obviously,
have merch.
that's a big one for me. Obviously, the Goon Bowl. You know,
It is the Goon Bowl, and he'll be wearing red because I'll make sure of
I
it.
will be wearing red. I wore red to the Rose Bowl last year, and it was very weird, and a lot of people were weirded out by it because I'm very recognizable at the Rose Bowl, and we've been going there for over 25 years. People have seen me grow up at the Rose Bowl,
Oh
right?
my
So
God, is that
seeing
Brad?
me
Is he wearing red?
not wearing Bruin blue at the Rose Bowl was a real shock to a lot of people, and had to show out, and yeah, we kicked the snot out of them that day. That was fun. Took over the stadium too.
But yeah, we will be there. I could not be more excited. And VOCFB has merch, vocfb.com/shop. Select Indiana. Check us out. Support the channel. My merch will be on the way soon. Super pumped about it. It's cool. It's clean. The logo is super tight. I'm very happy about it. Shout out to Josh who put all that together. And yeah. And then for the show notes, Brad. So real quick, well, obviously, we're going to stay on Tuesday nights. This will be our show preview, and we're going to get into the ODU preview in just a second. The next thing that will come out on the channel is not going to be live. It'll be the clips from this show, and then it'll be about a 10-minute or so recap of the game right after it ends from just me. And that'll be like live from Darlington and the races this weekend. So that's going to be a trip. We'll see how that goes. And then Brad and I are coming back to you live Sunday at 11 Eastern.
11 Eastern. I'll set my alarm. I'm gonna make it.
It'll
Brad be a rough one, but I will be there.
Brad and I will be back live 11 Eastern on Sunday.
My head will hurt, but I will be there for you guys, for my subs. Be there for you, John. Where is John today?
I don't know.
John. This is the first episode he's missed. Can't believe he's missing the ODU preview. This is crazy.
Yo, comment on the Big Ten lock tweet.
Yes. So a fan actually reached out to me and was holding us accountable a little bit. Remember the Big Ten lock thing? We didn't recap what that was, and it was about women's soccer in the Big Ten. And yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't about the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce engagement that happened today. No, it was about women's soccer.
Shout out to the listeners for holding us accountable.
Yeah. No, we love that. No, I appreciate it. Jonathan or Shlonathan. But
yeah, it was funny.
No, soccer kicked off, and if anyone's a big IU alum knows how big soccer is in Bloomington, seeking our 39th straight tournament appearance, which is insane. You put it 39th straight tournament appearance. It's only like a 48, 32 team field, 24 maybe. 39th
Coach
straight.
Coach Yeagley's got a
20th Big Ten title, looking for their 9th national title, and they look in form as they drew Clemson, a top-ranked team, very recently with a very sick goal at the end and a very cool celly. Looks like they're in form. Enough of soccer. It's football season, but yeah, IU soccer being in form this early is a very good sign come the College Cup. So we'll see how this team does. Great with the portal. I mean, this team should be nasty every year moving forward. So exciting things. But yeah, back to football.
Yeah, I'm gonna say hand up on the Big Ten lock tweet. Conspiracy Alex saw a couple of really convincing like who's joining the Big Ten arguments that I really enjoyed, and I went running with it. And then the Taylor Swift thing, I was like, maybe that's it because Taylor Swift, controls the headlines, and so wrong twice. But
it's good to think about
soccer,
Cal and Stanford in the Big Ten. Maybe it's just good to think about them sometimes because I think it works.
You think about those, but they're proud ACC schools. You leave them alone.
God, so gross. I hate it so much. It's disgusting. Makes me sick.
You know what's not disgusting, Brad? You know what's not disgusting and definitely out of the ordinary and something that deserves to be talked about. Pete Thamel has Indiana in his playoff. Talked about Cignetti as a winner until he sees otherwise. He's not picking against him. It is by far the most logical piece of just anything I've heard out of ESPN in regards to college football in the last 8 to 12 months. So shout out to Pete Thamel for that. It was just a very logical presentation of Indiana as a football program, and I don't know. It felt weird seeing it from an ESPN personality, but it was just a very logically presented case, and I appreciated it. So I wanted to shout out.
Pete Thamel's been doing this job for a long time. He's watched a lot of football very closely at the college level, and getting his endorsement, I'd say, is almost as good as anyone's out there. So, yeah, love the shout, and honestly, it kind of makes me mad because I wanted to go into the season with no one having us in the playoff, but it makes too much sense, right?
He's literally like the only guy.
Like you're just like they bring back 3 All-Americans on defense, and they got, it's still Cignetti. He always wins, always has a top tier quarterback in his conference. Like it just doesn't, it just doesn't. I don't know why it wasn't, assumed that people are throwing in Missouri and Nebraska instead. It's
Missouri's rolling with 2 quarterbacks. You see that report today?
What?
Missouri's Purbuella did not win the job outright. They're rolling with 2 quarterbacks, like half and a half or something like that, or drive. I didn't see the full report.
Fun.
30 teams in the playoffs, though, right? Here we go.
That's another like, yeah. But their schedule's so easy, and Indiana had an easy schedule last year. They're going to be this year's Indiana. It's just,
Fat Boy says
that might is that Indiana was a good football team. They're able to win all those games, You're a mediocre team. You're going to drop one to Oklahoma on the road.
Fat Boy says that might cost Pete his job at the end of the contract.
Anyways.
Hey, at least he'll have his dignity, right?
Anyways, it's all going to be taken care of on the field anyways. I'm not worried about it. That's why I'm so into getting into ODU. I'm chomping at the bit.
I know, and I'm going to hold you back for 30 more seconds. You know who else watches a lot of football, specifically Indiana football, and who's not an Indiana fan without an incentive to talk about the Hoosiers in any type of positive light, Brad?
There's a lot of people like that.
It's Zach Osterman, one of my favorite journalists out there, somebody with high journalistic integrity. Last year, he said he felt like he was going out on a limb, predicting the Hoosiers to have 8 wins. This year, he's got the team at 10 wins. Again, I'm not going to put self-imposed limitations on this football team. When somebody who watches as much football and as much Indiana football as Zach Osterman predicts the team to have 10 wins, my ears perk up. I'm listening. That's a very, very good sign for this football team.
Yeah, I agree. And he almost has the same exact sentiment I have, where I've said this before on this show. I thought I was being, cheeky, being, 7-8 wins next year going into last year, right? And they exceeded that by 3. So like I'm at like 10 to 11 right now. And like, are they gonna blow my expectations out of the water again and give that, we talk about the year 2 jump too, on top of all that. Like, what does that look like? How much better do these guys get in the system? And here, great minds think alike, right? And we all love Zach over at the Indy Star. So, not surprised they had that take,
big fans.
Yeah,
big fans.
Yeah, I saw him at the Northwestern basketball game this year in Evanston.
Yeah, maybe we'll see what we can do on that front this season. We'll see. And then we got new towels. The new towels, I don't care what anybody says. I loved them. I thought they looked awesome. I'm a fan of the Bison mascot. I don't care what the mascot looks like or I'm a fan. So I don't really care. I thought it looked dope. Fan of the towel.